Hey guys, welcome back to the Lit Mag Lab podcast. I'm Jazz Marie, aka Vevna Forrow. So previously on the podcast, I was showing you around Bottle Cap Press, right? They have a pretty neat chapbook series, right? And they've been around since 2014. Yeah. So I on that podcast episode, right? I was covering, some of the obstacles presses run into, even going over some reviews and forum comments, just that I came across, right? And yeah. Anyways, you can listen back to that episode if you're curious, or you want to see more of Bottle Cap Press. I was just, mostly talking about their site structure, right, as an example. And yeah, so another fairly well-known press that I'm a fan of is Ghost City Press. Yeah. Now they've been around for quite some time as well, and you'll see here. So on Chill Subs, right? And if you don't know what Chill Subs is, again, totally check out the Chill Subs overview episodes and update ones. Yeah. So Ghost City Review here, you'll probably like what I thought it was called Ghost City Press, and the reason being, so there's Ghost City Press, and then there's also Ghost City Review. So just keep that in mind. So I don't think Ghost City Press has a listing quite yet on a separate one under Chill Subs, browse section here. And that's not necessary, entirely, but I think eventually they might do that. There's still a lot of times if a literary magazine, right, eventually ends up creating a press or a chapbook series of some kind, right? They don't necessarily always have two separate listings right away or anything like that, or not everyone has two separate chill subs listings quite yet. But yeah, we separated out our listings, between our literary magazine and our press. Yeah, but of course I could make a suggestion and do that because I was searching, I didn't come across it quite yet. Yeah, but nevertheless, I'm just going to cover the stats, right? And by the way, again, some places start off as a press and then create a literary magazine totally, later on. So, yeah, if you ever, start up a literary magazine, whether it's online or print or both, right? And you decide to open a chapbook press one day or, extension of some kind, totally go for it. Yeah, just consider some of the things I mentioned in the past podcast episode, right? About, your team structure, the guidelines, and things to really, ensure that you have, right? Specific windows, when others will hear back. And, yeah, time frames are so important, right? And yeah. So, yeah, let's go over, they have featured calls here. Let's see what's under all calls. So yeah, it's showing this might not be accurate, or it could be. Again, I always double check the website, but it appears their calls at Ghost City Review are closed. And we'll head over to the website soon here. Yeah, yeah. So a little bit about Ghost City Press. I'm actually going to read the about section over on Duotrope because there's a little bit more. But you can see, right? It says founded 2016, but then it says Ghost City Press was established in 2014. So yeah, in Syracuse, New York. So yeah, I think on social media, if you go out to Ghost City Press, they have also Portland, Maine. So I'm not entirely sure. I know they have a couple different team members located in the US, across the US. So I'm not sure exactly, but yeah, if that is the origin state, right, or founding is New York, and then maybe they changed the base, or location to be listed as Portland, Maine. I'm not entirely sure, but on social media that's there. So just noting that. Yeah. So let me go over here and then we'll go back to Chill Subs. So you can see this is the Ghost City Press summer Micro-Chapbook series listing, right? You can see here it says a product of Ghost City Press. So just quoting this off of Duotrope. Again, Duotrope is another way, you'll come across, information about lit mags, drones, and presses. There's also Duosuma, another way to, find calls, right? They have a discover page, and, besides going through Chill Subs to search and find lit mags, drones, and presses, right? So, yeah, so it says here they started their annual Micro-Chapbook series back in 2016 as a way to provide the readers with free poetry throughout the summer. Supporting the online lit community can be expensive, and this was a way for them to help introduce new writers to community, to help established writers find a broader audience, and to help raise money for all of the writers and artists involved. It says here, now this could change, or it may have changed, I don't know. Um, it says they now release one micro chapbook each weekday throughout the summer. Every title released as part of the summer series is available as a free PDF download on their website. That's awesome, yeah. And in addition to downloading the collections of poetry, fiction, and cross genre work, they also have the option of donating to any of the writers involved. And the best part is they get to keep 100% of what's donated to them. And yeah, it says some of their authors have even chosen to forward their donations to various charity organizations. And yeah, they note that on the micro-chat page. So I'll show you what that looks like soon here. So yeah, they have the project here, and you can see other related projects, right? So I think Ghost City Press is listed right now as DNQ. I'm not sure why, but anyways, um, yeah, you can see this is Ghost City Review, right? So Ghost City Review, they have submissions of poems, too, short stories, flash fiction, personal essays, adventure narratives, journal entries, short plays, monologues, translations, photographs, oil paintings, watercolors, sculptures, dioramas, pretty much anything you can think of. They want to see it all, right? From new and emerging established authors and artists. So yeah, it says here, the established date, right? 2016, right? So yeah, of Ghost City Review, and then so the response time for Ghost City Review. Now I'm predominantly going to focus on Ghost City Press, but sometimes if a press also has a literary magazine or journal, I'll share that too. Or if a journal also has a press, right, and it's I'll also just cover that since they're together, right? Yeah. But predominantly I'll focus on Ghost City Press a little bit more than Ghost City Review, but I'll just cover what I can basically. The response time is showing 90 days, and then editor reported data is what they typically state. Others will get a decision or response, and then chill subs. Submitters who track in chill subs have been it's been averaging 60 days. Looks like the acceptance rate is 12.8%, and they do nominate for prizes and no fee, right? So yeah. Industry rankings, let's check this out. So on the fish list, it's 451. Ghost City Review, right? This listing out of 1,830. Brecht is showing BRECHT 589. I apologize, mispronounced that again. Out of 1,000. And yes, they have some collection list here, LGBTQ, quiet corners of the internet that want your notes app masterpieces. And yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna cover the guidelines by going on their site, but yeah, you can see some have totally plugged in their publication from Ghost Review. Now, yeah, so there might one day be on Chill Subs a Ghost City Press separate listings. I didn't see it again under the browse feature when I was searching. At least, let me check again. I could be wrong. No, this isn't it. There's a Ghost Orchard Press, but that's not it. That's in Cambridgeshire, UK. I could have totally mispronounced that too. But yeah, so I think there's a way to do suggested listings on chill subs too. So yeah, see, we're sorry, you're so yeah. There's a way to do that. So some presses have a separate listing, and then they have a magazine or literary arts journal listing. So you know yeah, so that might be something. Anyways, let's go check out the website now. Yeah, so I'm gonna click enter. And yeah, so this is Ghost City Press, the site. Yeah, their URL doesn't have Ghost City Review; it has Ghost City Press. So yeah, just keep that in mind. So yeah, it says again, Ghost City Press was established in 2014 in Syracuse, New York, and then yeah, so I think the dual trope pages and chill stuff is showing 2016. So yeah, I think the micro chapbook series came later is what I'm thinking. And then yeah, so their monthly journal Ghost City Review, right, focuses on um full length poetry collections, chapbooks, and yeah, their annual um yeah, so Ghost City Review is their monthly journal again. And yeah, so They have an outline. Sometimes lit magazine journals, or not sometimes. A lot of places do. Especially if you're going to be part of the CLMP membership, right? They have their mission statement. You have to make sure that's visible, and yeah, and outline what your mission is and everything. It doesn't have to look exactly like this. I don't know if this is their mission statement or if there's other things on their site, but um, you know, yeah, what you're hoping to achieve, what your focus is, right? You want to make that very clear with your Lit Mag Journal Press. So I'll cover this, I guess, share it, yeah, because it is important. It says they want to maintain a sustainable business model which prioritizes the needs of their authors and readers. This means lower costs for their readers and higher royalties for their writers and editors. They refuse to sell their books on Amazon, and by keeping the distribution of their books primarily in house through sales on their website and occasionally through regional independent bookstores, they are able to keep the price of their products as low as possible. Yeah. So I think I've seen some, not Ghostly Press, I'm saying, but I've seen some presses try to, have listings on some online bookstores. And, we totally have, distribute things, to online bookstores too. But, not everyone, puts books on Amazon totally. And I like Ghost City Press, offers PDF copies and downloads, digital downloads. So I'll show you that in a bit here. But there are, again, I'm going to cover maybe in the future some more digitalization options. There are some pretty cool ones out there that connect others further to libraries, or other platforms out there that are able to do that too. But yeah, distribution of a series is very tough again. Not everyone's able to get into independent bookstores too, or work with distribution services. So sometimes they resort to online bookstore listings or elsewhere. It's tough. Every press is structured a little bit differently in existence. But yeah, a lot of bookstores don't order from Amazon anyway. They order through the Ingram network. So if you push something like through the Ingram network and it goes out to all online bookstores, even Amazon, right? They still, they can't order from just off of Amazon. A lot of bookstores are like, we don't order from Amazon anyway. So, they order from the Ingram network. But yeah, so they ensure all money made through the sale of books published by Ghostly Press goes back into publishing distribution process to help fund future projects. And yeah, we do this too at the press I started, right? We use the sales of the previous chapbook to fund the next one in the series as much as possible. And yeah, because it's running a press, whether you're doing everything in house or not, it's still, there's going to be some hefty cost in terms of maybe the you're working with other artists, maybe you're working with others on interior illustrations. If you're doing that, right, there's costs there. And yeah, and yeah, so it says they want to build online and regional communities of writers again, and they wish to, do all they can to help literary communities flourish, especially in more rural and suburban areas, especially in those communities which they call home. They want to support and welcome new writers, right, to the online literary and publishing community. They want to help promote the work done by other small press publishers and advocate for the works of their authors. Uh, yeah, the work of the authors, and that's published, and the projects they work on, both before and after collaborating with Ghost City. And yeah, they really emphasize supporting writers here, so that's great. And especially very welcoming, right? They highlight, or they strive to highlight women, the LGBTQ community, writers of color, First Nation writers. And yeah, so activism is an important part of what they believe in. And yeah, so that's great. So I like that they have this community section on their page. It really shows that Ghosty Press is super supportive. We're not on the list, but maybe one day, guys. But I would totally put, if I had a support list, I would put Ghosty Press would be on my recommendation list for sure. They have magazines and presses here. You can see of who they love. I discussed Bottle Cap Press, and there's some presses out here that I recognize. Some of them have, again, some of these presses may have mixed reviews on some things, and some of these may not be, if you look up some of these names, some of them may not be open, or you can see here they update the list from time to time and say RIP guys at the bottom. So if you can see my screen on Spotify or YouTube, right, or elsewhere, you can see these are presses or lit magazine journals that perhaps closed down, right, or used to exist. So yeah, so not all of these magazines and presses are perhaps active. Some of these I have come into contact with or have friends, have had mixed reviews. But nevertheless, running a press or literary magazine is very tough, and I love seeing the support list that they have. That's very awesome. Yeah, so yeah, they have a community support list of places to check out. I've seen also some lit mags and journals in the community do some collaborations with others, or seen collaboration posts on social media, and just sharing other calls and stories and stuff like that. So the literary arts community or press community is very supportive in general. We all know how hard it is, right, to keep things going, and not everyone sees the value in it for sure. So I think it's great that we support one another, to keep going for sure. Let's check out the mastheads. So yeah, I don't read bios always, and since there's four, I don't think I'll read here. But you can see Kevin Burt Tolero. I apologize if I completely mispronounced that name. Kevin is the founding editor of Ghost City Press, and yeah, and then Jack Bachman is the editor, at Ghost City Press. So you can see here that they have team members in different parts of the U.S. It looks like, yeah, and yeah, so the Ghost City Review, Justin Karcher is the editor in chief, and then Michael C is the fiction editor. So yeah, it looks like they have a team of four. I don't know if they have anyone else involved in Ghost City Press or Ghost City Review, but it's nice. Their masthead's visible. We know who's overseeing things, and that's great. So yeah, let's go over to the shop now, right? So this bookstore setup that Ghost City Press has is really nice. I think, they have the author names here, all on the side, and you can see some chapbooks so yeah. Um, these are very cool to look through. I've purchased a couple myself, of their series. I think the summer series, right? Let me go there. I think I purchased some from the summer series. Yeah, I purchased some from the summer series, which is $0, right? Free. So these are really great reads, guys. If you, totally check these out. If you're looking to start your own, press, or to do micro chapbooks, this is a good idea to get an idea of this, or checking out other ones out there, right? Totally. I think that's nice that these are free to download, right? But then they also have a few other ones that are ranging from $5 to $12, that range. So chapbooks again are very bite-sized reads, micros especially. So these are digital downloads. Some of these, yeah. So let's click on one of these guys. Yeah. So yeah, you can see, others can, add this to the cart. It tells you the page amount and when it was published. And yeah, so with their summer series, if we click on this, right, let's go to 2025. I'm just going to click on this one. So yeah, you can see here with their summer series, and micro chapbooks, right? 13 pages looks like here. So they have this cool donate button here, which is really nice. So all donations go directly to the author. So I mentioned this, through our newsletter too, right? I am a fan of this setup, and yeah, so I think it's cool to have a donation link, right, to support poets. There are a couple different ways you can facilitate this if you're looking to do it right. I think they're using Squarespace for their site design, but yeah, nevertheless, there are various donation platforms where you're able also, besides doing this, right, to do pages or various pages on behalf of others, right? I think Give Butter had something like that, but they don't do facilitate, I think, at this time, international. So you could do something like there are various pay, donate, button links you could create, yeah. And I think I showed you guys our setup at Dippity Lit Mag and Dippity Press. So yeah, this was really inspiring to see, this setup. So yeah, that's what really, made me think about like starting a press too, for Dippity, right? And I was really inspired by their setup, and how they have it all laid out. There was also another press out there. I can't remember what they were called. I don't know if they're still around, but they did nothing, guys, nothing but 99-cent chapbooks. I think a buck or something. I don't know if they're all micros or not, but anyways, I thought that was really cool. A series that's just a buck, right? And this is cool. You know what Go City Press is doing, right? So they have micro chapbooks, right? It looks like the bite-sized series here is $0, right? So totally, take some time to check some of these titles out. They're pretty cool. I love seeing the different covers and titles and coming across author names. So I'm not sure who does their cover design, but it's pretty cool. Some of these I recognize are you could say this some of these are, I think, public domain Creative Common images, or ones that could be applied for this use and stuff. So if you're, I think it's important though to make the covers as distinct as possible, whatever you're going to do with your late man journal press. So yeah, there are various ways you could go about incorporating art into your press, right? If you're wondering, I was going to do a separate episode on this, but you could intake donations from the community and credit them, or use photography even, right? There are poets and writers, out there totally, who or photographers who donate their work to lit mag journals and presses. They have work sitting and they're like, I'm not going to use this for anything else, might as well donate it for a great purpose, right? It can be integrated into publications and is featured even, so that's really cool. Yeah, with credit, and that's great. Or so some presses, they have cover artists, they have maybe a friend on the team or someone doing the cover designs or collages, or sometimes the in some press series the submitter themselves maybe has a photo they want to use, or they're an artist themselves and they want to be involved in the cover or interior portions of it too, and that happens. So I don't think these micro chapbooks have interior art or anything like that. It could be wrong, but in any case, the micro chapbook series is very cool. I've picked up a couple in the past, and I recognize some names totally. Yeah, so definitely, if you're looking for some reading, if you like reading chapbooks or are curious, check it out, right? And yeah, yeah. So it's pretty cool. They have these donation buttons across the series, that they do. Yeah, and then they have features. It looks like, let's see what this is. So it looks like they did a digital anthology of queer love poems. That's really cool. So yeah, submissions are currently closed to this, but what they do, there's love poems and heartbreaks, right? So it's for the LGBTQ community, right? It's tied to that. And so for the guidelines for this, it says they accept both published and unpublished poems, and yeah, so yeah, that's cool, right? It says send 1 to 3 poems in a single doc, right? When they're open, they're closed currently, but I think that's cool. They have this digital anthology. I don't know how long this is ongoing or not, or the various windows of it, or if this was a one-time thing. I think it may be an um yeah, this may be an ongoing anthology that they're doing. I can't tell, but I think so because it says submissions are closed currently. So yeah, they still have some audio recordings here. Let's see what that looks like. So Ghost City tapes. It looks like they've also done. It could be spoken word or something. I don't know what this really entails. Oh yeah, so yeah, that's cool. So it's a collection of recordings by Ghost City Press poets. Back from 2017. It looks like Volume One. I don't know if they're still doing these, but I think it's cool if they can. Oh yeah, published March 2020. So yeah, it'd be cool if they do more of these. I really like hearing poets' voices too, and others read their work. So what else do we have here, guys? I read the about page. So it's sort of what I've read basically on Duotrope, right, of the Micro-Chapbook Summer Series. I think it's a very cool setup that Ghost City Press has, again, offering both, free reads, and then there are some paid ones, and it's not too bad, pricing wise, I think it's fair, yeah. So yeah, very very cool series here. I'm gonna have to check out more. It's been a while since I've been on their website, but yeah, you can see there's some on sale, and yeah, so very very cool titles again. Let's see if I missed anything, guys. So I covered that and the summer series. So you can see here they have a drop down of all the years, right? Let's take a look at 2016 when it started. I'm just curious. So yeah, you can see that, right? So that's cool, right? And they have all the years here drop down. So yeah, maybe they'll get I don't see a search at this time or anything like that. So yeah, that's the only thing. Of course, on your computer, right, on some web browsers, right, you can use the keyboard shortcut Control F, right, and then that'll pull up, of course, the search bar. You can type a keyword search in, but yeah, I think that'd be nice if they have a search one day. But it's very organized. You can find everything still. The submission guidelines for the summer series. Let's. I think I didn't cover that, so let me just read this over for you guys real quick so you get an idea of like guidelines. Every again presses series has different guidelines. Not anyone's is 100% identical, at Litmax journals and presses again. So you just want to read very carefully. I see poets sometimes they just resend a submission they had from or did from another press to over to us or something, and they didn't really revise it or anything. They just sent it as is, and you could totally tell, and everything, or they didn't read the guidelines, right? Because for some presses, right, they don't accept previously published poetry for chapbook series. Some do, with credits, but some don't. So you want to be careful about that. Or some don't disclose that was previously published, and then we discover it was, because it gets detected, right? Or yeah. So you just want to be careful. Read guidelines very carefully. Every press is a little bit different in terms of what they look for and accept, right? And some are theme calls, and some are not. So yeah, so again, all their microchaps are available free to download, and then they encourage donations to authors, right? Because they get to keep 100% of that. Yeah, so the series has been going on for a very long time, guys. That's very cool. Yeah, so it looks like their submission window was February 1st to 28th, so it's closed now. But yeah, I'll still read the guidelines. So they welcome collections of poetry, prose, or other multimedia work. The more creative you are, the better. Co-authored collections are also welcome, though. That's cool. And then they also have, it says very few rules prohibiting what you can submit, but please adhere to the following guidelines. So yeah, manuscript should be no longer than 10 pages of writing and art. This does not include the title, pages, and acknowledgments. It says please send a single PDF file. So they do accept PDF files. I know some places prefer Word docs. Everyone has a different preference. It says one submission per person and team. Please include a brief third person bio along with your submission. And it says they will be reviewing submissions throughout February and March. And, back then, right in the window of 2025, early in the year. So it says simultaneous submissions are not accepted, and then they give a specified time frame of when others will hear back. So that's great, right? That they have that, so others know when they'll hear back. That's something I didn't really see on the previous podcast episode showing you. So I think it's very important. If you have a press lit mega journal, again, you give estimate time frames, whether it be month or specify. Typically days is like the everyone has a day range, like 30, 60 days, or sometimes places take a bit longer than that, 3 to 4 months, to get back. And if it goes through rounds of review or something, it may vary. So yeah, trying to think of anything else, guys. I feel like I'm missing something, but maybe not. So yeah, it's very cool. You can see 9 years of the summer series here, so that's pretty awesome. Um, so Ghost City Review, I covered Ghost City. So I covered Ghost City Review. I covered Ghost City Press, right? Let's take a look at that. Let's check it out. So Go City Review, it says it's closed for the foreseeable future because they're trying to get caught up, yep, to their backlog. I mentioned this on the past podcast episode, right? So it's a good idea, right? If you know you have a backlog, if you have a lot of things to catch up to just say, we got to pause, we got to catch up, and then we'll be back open as soon as those are submissions are gone through or publications are completed, etc. Yeah. Ghost City Review, so again, welcome submissions of poems, short stories, fiction or nonfiction, flash fiction, translations, and art. It says they're looking for new work again from both emerging and established authors. They don't believe in silent rejection, so they do, give a response to all submissions, which is great. The response time for Ghost City Review is 2 to 4 months, but they usually try to get back sooner. And of course, if you don't hear back, within 4 months, right, they tell you what exactly to title it. And yeah, so that's it. Yeah. In terms of that, they have the, general guidelines here. So yeah, for Ghost City Review, right, it says they do not accept any work that has been previously published in a literary arts journal or online blog. This does not include, however, your personal blogs and social media sites. However, they ask that you take the work down before you submit to them for consideration. They do accept simultaneous submissions. And yeah, you just have to notify them if it's accepted elsewhere. You can submit to different categories, but just, each submission should have, separate emails, right? Poetry in one email and a short story in a second email, right? If you put everything in one file, they'll reject it, right? Yeah. So I've seen, writers do that sometimes. They try to put a bunch in one submission, right? Up to one call. And that's, obviously that's not following the guidelines, and that's going to be very confusing to it's going to be hard on like maybe the team and everything, right? And it won't really fit the call if you're, packing a bunch more than asked for, right? Or, for different calls. It's always good to separate out your submissions or to follow, the terms of the lit mag or journal, even same thing with presses too. So Go City Review runs on a rolling submission schedule. So it says submit your work anytime. However, again, they're paused right now, so just keep that in mind. So yeah. And then they said, do not submit again until you've heard, a response. And then they just say include a short author bio. If you do not include your bio in your email, your submission will be rejected. So yeah, they have guidelines around that. So some, places again use a submission management system, and conceal bios, for lit mags, journals, and presses even. So yeah, so Go City Press doesn't have a submission management system at this time, but it's not the end of the world. If your lit major and press doesn't have one, it's if you don't, I guess it's a way to cut down costs too. They're not there are some that aren't super expensive, right? Subfolio, we moved to Subfolio this summer, so it was pretty cool. If you're interested, you can listen back to that episode and a few of the other ones where I'm comparing various submission management systems. But I think they help keep presses and lit mags and journals organized. I again, I think it's very important that lit mags and journals and presses are very organized. And yeah, so I think Go See Press does a great job. Yeah, their sites are very organized. All the guidelines are very clear. Yeah, and Go City Review does submit nominations for the Pushcart Prize. Says just include in your email last name, first name, submission category, right? So yeah, just keep this in mind. Every lit mag journal press, right, has a different format. This is for Go City Review, so yeah, don't confuse it with Go City Press. And yeah, so they have categories of poetry where you can send up to 3 poems, right? And in a Microsoft Word document. For this, right, they prefer for Go City Review. Yeah, and they will automatically reject without being read. It says center aligned poems will not be accepted. Do not paste it into, directly. It says prose, send up to 3 prose pieces per submission in a single Microsoft Word document, no more than 3,000 words. Again, no PDFs, links, or Google files, right? And then art, it says send up to 3 original pieces, high quality JPEGs, JPGs, right? Yeah. No AI artwork will be accepted. Yeah. So yeah, all of their guidelines are very clear and organized, So yeah, they have, what's the archive? Let's take a look, guys. They're not open right now, but if you're interested, you can check back, later maybe. It looks like February. I don't know if their window is always February or early in the year, or things like that for you know Ghost City Review, or even the their summer series, right? I'm not sure like when their windows open back up, exactly, throughout the year. I can't recall. But yeah, you can always check back. Usually if a place says they opened in February, I usually check back. Maybe the following year or a couple months later. Or just pop in from time to time if I'm interested in submitting to them, right? So yeah, um, let's go back here. I think yeah. So I was going into the archive. So yeah, they have tiles here for their archive here. So this is their site archive. So let's click into it. So you can see for Ghost City Review, right, they have separate pages and poetry for each author. Let's just click into one of these. So you can see, the poems are laid out like this, right? The author bio, others can like and share. There's a way to go to a newer post right at the bottom or older post and navigate, right? Again, there's no search function on their website as of 2025, but I think that'd be beneficial to be able to search through this archive to minimize maybe clicks. But that's my only comment. It's a very clean and organized layout. I really like it. And then what's April 2025? Let's take a look. Oh yeah, so that's just like I think from the last window they had in April. So yeah, I think Ghost City Review and Ghost City Press are both awesome. Huge fan of their summer series. I think it's a lot of fun. I enjoy reading those, especially. And yeah, so if you're looking for some, and they have a complete collection too, it looks like, after for the year's end, I think. So that's awesome, So, a lot of great reads here, totally. $0, guys. So you got to check this out. And totally, you can, again, donate to poets, right? And it goes straight to them, right? I think that's nice. Now some presses, right, like on the past podcast episode, right, they and then maybe Ghost City Press has some other publications where they do royalty splits. I'm not sure exactly. I don't see anything about that. I do see the mention of the donations going straight to the poet, right? But I think Bottle Cap Press, right, I've seen comments where they say it's I'm not sure if that's accurate or not, a 50-50 split of royalties. Some places have a different royalty setup, or some places don't have any donation options, things like this at all. They mostly just offer, maybe in the form of payment, copies of the physical copies of the Micro-Chapbook, or mid to full length collection, right? A set number, So yeah, so you want to just take these things in consideration. If you're going to start your own press one day. I covered both Ghost City Press and Ghost City Review just because they're together, right? So, but I was predominantly wanted to focus and highlight the summer series because I think it's very cool. It's a one of a fairly well known, long standing Micro-Chapbook series that I'm again a huge fan of, and yeah, I think it's very cool again, and love the cover, the distinct covers, right? So it's very nice, yeah. So there's absolutely some fun titles on some of these, yeah, and yeah. So you know, so yeah. Again, very very cool setup. Just an example of what's possible. If you want to start your own lit mag journal press, doesn't necessarily have to be set up like this, but I think it's nice. They feature all of the authors' names on the left hand side here, and yeah. Again, you can clearly don't donate. There's a donation button here, and they have a add to cart button and all of that, right? Yeah, very very nice setup. Yeah, so I could be wrong. But I think they have a Squarespace site base. I could be wrong. There are various integrations and tools out there that you could probably facilitate for donations too. If you're not going to use Squarespace, or there are various things to facilitate that totally. So yeah, I think royalty payments again are a little bit too tough to manage. Yeah, so there are alternatives to that if you don't want to, facilitate royalties to poets, or can't, because maybe you don't have someone to oversee those, or you don't have the ability to afford maybe a royalty management system of some kind, or to set that up like a dashboard where others can see royalties and stuff. I'm not even able to facilitate that. I certainly can't. So, yeah, there are great ways to do setups like this, right? Donations, and yeah, and yeah, so it's a very, very cool setup, right? Yeah. So yeah, so when we click on this donation link, let's just see what happens, guys. So yeah, I'll just show you. There's a donation, right? You just enter your email, your contribution, you confirm. It's a very nice setup that they have. Let's go back. That's all, and you can easily add chapbooks to carts, right? And then it just goes up there, right? So yeah, you can pick up various chapbooks. I'm gonna go through some later again. Just showing you the uh cart, how they have it set up, right? So when you add to cart, right, you can see there, yeah, these are all $0, guys. So these are, really great ways to discover more awesome work, writing, and if you're someone who loves poetry, right, this is really cool and fun, I think, for sure. Um, yeah, so that's pretty much it. I covered their bookstore, their shop again. So not all, they do have some poetry collections and titles they've, published, right, that are, fairly reasonable, right? You can see this one's 44 pages, right? It's a chapbook, not micro, but they're longer collections, right, outside of that Micro-Chapbook series, right? I saw range typically, it looks like $5 to $12. That's pretty standard, right? Unless a press incorporates interior illustrations, then sometimes it's a bit more. But yeah, I think this is cool. They even have some um, praises at the bottom for some of these chapbooks. So I think Go City Press does a good job of supporting writers. Absolutely. And fellow lit mags and journals and presses, very supportive. Go City Press and Go City Review. Yeah. So yeah, check out. Circle back to Go City Press, so or Go City Review even, right. I'm sure they have, maybe they're not always open at the same time, or they have different windows. I'm not sure if it's just earlier in the year, I can't remember. um yeah, or but yeah, definitely, it's a place to check out for sure. And yeah, so here, I was trying to find an example of a paperback. So yeah, they do have physical paperbacks again, and they have ISBNs for their some of their, it looks like, longer publications, totally. And yeah, they mentioned they do, try to work and get publications into independent bookstores from time to time and things like that, right? So yeah, that's cool, right? So you can see they have, some longer works, right? That are, this one's 75 pages and the ISBN's there. So yeah, if you want to set something up like this, like for your own lit mag, or or press, I mean, if you want to set something like this for your press, you totally can. You can, have longer works, do shorter works, or just do a series around shorter works. If you want to do nothing but a digital series of, micro chapbooks, go for it, totally. And, not, if you're, not everyone's able to, set everything up exactly the same as another place. So again, every place has a different structure to it. If you want to focus on full length collections, go for it. If you want to focus on both, full length and bite size reads, totally go for it. You have a lot of options to set up a press. There are a lot of cool, integrations you could use. Listen back to, again, the website builder episode. It may help you, or even some of the other ones in earlier in the series, right? For setting up, shops and bookstores. There, integrations where you can have shopping carts. A lot of website builders do that, or there are other platforms you could, facilitate digital downloads with too, fairly, very easily, right? A lot of options out there for, um, that, doing digital series, ebook, type PDF, series too. If you don't want to focus on print, or if you want to do both, right, you can. They're just, again, you just want to be organized as possible. And yeah, So yeah, I really like the setup that Go City Press has, and Go City Review, showing you a little bit, going through the guidelines there. So yeah, it's a very cool, series. If you're interested, again, submitting to Go City Press in the future, right? Just read the guidelines very carefully. It looks like they have guest editors too, from time to time, and yeah. So you just want to, again, if you have any questions ever, right, on things, right, I'm sure you could always reach out or something in terms of Go City Press or Go City Review. Yeah. So that's pretty much it, yeah. So they have a, general questions. They're addressed. They intake those too. So it's very cool, right? And it's easy to clear your cart. I'm gonna, go back, and I was just showing you an example of what their shopping cart looks like and the setup. So yeah, I'm gonna go back and look at their 2025 releases totally, and it's been a while since I've been on their website. Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to show you another example of a pretty awesome press in existence. Really cool, and they've been around for, again, quite some time as well. So I really like that they have a free series, and then they have also some other ones, right? The you know full length collections, a bit longer, right? Those are, have a price range, tip very low, not too bad, right? And then they have this free Micro-Chapbook series. The summer series has been a very long ongoing one, so yeah, you can dig through these, right? The list is very fun to do. I really like, you know, reading Micro-Chapbooks. I think they're very, I think in the world of presses, right? So yeah, I think, micro chapbooks in general, I think they're very cool and unique. It's just really, again, pretty cool to see, what poets write around and the various focuses. I really think it's fun. If you've never made a micro chapbook, guys, or or read one even, now's the time, totally. I think, if, again, especially if you're going to start your own press, right, it's important to be familiar with like a chapbook and micro chapbooks, and to understand it, right? So yeah, that's pretty cool, yeah. So yeah, that's all I gotta say, guys. So yeah, pick up some chapbooks from Go City Press, micros even, totally check out their bookstore shop. It's pretty massive too. So yeah, again, the only thing I'd say is it'd be nice to maybe have a search one day, on their site or something. But nevertheless, it's very organized. I think it's great. They highlight the author names on the left and all the titles, and that's pretty much it. In terms of archive, I'll just mention. So this is like a site archive, of things in the past. Again, some lit mags, journals, or presses also establish, mentioned, right, an additional digital archive, maybe through there are various platforms out there that do that, or work with, with magazines and journals. You know, and then there are some other digitization options. I've covered some of them on this podcast. I'm going to cover maybe one or two more, and maybe some other presses or resources and tools too. But I just wanted to, again, really just spotlight Go City Press predominantly. You totally, again, in your downtime, you can check it out a bit more. I'll drop links again to Go City Press. And yeah, so yeah. So that's pretty much it, guys. That's all. So yeah. Now I need to get waffles. I was just like, you see food covers, you're like, ah, I could use some waffles right now. It is the, early morning when I'm doing this here, but I had oatmeal, guys, but still I have like a waffle craving. I think my favorite breakfast meal, guys, this is the additional notes of me just talking, so just for fun. So I think my favorite breakfast, well, I had like Belgian waffles and stuff and things like that, but I I would say I'm a cereal person. Like I like, those crispy rice cereals I grew up eating, and, things like that. Um quite a bit, and waffles and pancakes are awesome too. So it's hard to choose between pancakes and waffles, but I'm saying if like there are chocolate chip pancakes, I would choose that over probably waffles. And yeah, I used to grow up having like those mini waffles too. Some of them were chocolate chip and some of them weren't. Um, yeah, and then I was a huge fan again of crispy rice cereal, still am. Cornflake cereal. And yeah, so I just want to point out also, while just tacking this on, right? Ghostly Press, right? So obviously they don't focus on ghost or horror poetry, right? I just wanted to make that clear, obviously, right? Just because a lit mag journal press has witch in the name or, something like that doesn't mean they focus solely on like witch poetry or, anything like that. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out. October is coming up here, so maybe I'll try to find a horror focused press of some kind. Yeah, and yeah, so I don't know, guys. Do you believe in ghosts? I definitely don't. I was asked that question, by the way. I think the last time someone asked me that question was back in 2020, and it was like such a weird situation to ask that. In time and place. I was like, really, like, what? Why are you asking me that? In my mind, but it was like, I was like, what? Why are you asking that? So, I wrote about something I'm sure some of you guys know around that. It was just really unfortunate that they asked that at that point in time because it was like something serious like was going on, right? I was like, oh my God, like why? No, I'm not, people, ask or, whenever, face something others don't believe and, physically, right? Or anything like that, right? It's strange some of the questions others asked you, right? There's that saying, right? You have to see it to believe it, totally. Or look very closely, otherwise you'll miss something very, very massive, right? Yeah, but yeah, I'm I don't believe in ghosts or anything like that, but I'm a fan, or I used to watch horror movies a little bit more. So Paranormal Activity and the Wrong Turn series is pretty creepy, right, guys? And The Conjuring, right? Didn't they make a new one again, The Conjuring or something? And there is the 13 Ghost movie with that actor Tony Shalhoub, and yeah, that one is pretty interesting. I saw that a very long time ago with my dad. I think it was 2001 movie 13 Ghosts. So yeah, that was pretty creepy. Never forgot that one, and yeah, not huge on as much on horror movies anymore, but I do watch them from time to time, and yeah. The Descent, 2005, and I think I heard they're doing another one of those. There's like some weren't those like vampire cave bats or something, guys? I can't remember. But yeah, I've seen, the American Werewolf in Paris. That's probably one of my faves for sure. I don't remember what year that was. I don't remember, but yeah, I've watched it a couple times. I think it was 1997, but yeah, I really enjoyed that one, The American Werewolf in Paris, and I also saw American Werewolf in London, and various vampire movies, right? Queen of the Damned, totally. Yeah. So I don't watch as many anymore, but I do from time to time. Yeah, that was a 2002 movie, Queen of the Damned, and yeah, but yeah, the music was very good in that movie, of course. So yeah, Ghostly Press doesn't focus on ghosts, guys. Just so you're aware. Maybe you saw that you're like, oh, do they focus on ghost poetry, ghost collections, or the paranormal? No, but I think they have an awesome name though for sure, and I love their series. It is very cool again, and yeah, I still haven't covered any food related food related lit mags, journals, and presses. So yeah, I haven't, but maybe we'll get there one day. I don't know before the end of the year. I don't, maybe not, but I'll try to fit in a few more episodes. If you see me drop off here suddenly, it's because I had to take a break probably. And again, I might do a text-based extension to the series and then do video episodes when I can. If any of these episodes are helping you, totally feel free to drop a comment or, thumbs up or whichever platform you're on. Totally. I love seeing those comments. Helps me, to continue the series and things like that, right? So, yeah, or to think of other topics for you guys. Maybe you want my thoughts on something. I obviously don't know everything and I make tons of mistakes again, guys, totally, with things I've, developed and created. But it's a whole learning process, right? Just sharing, it doesn't, again, as I always said, doesn't hurt to share, right? So take care, guys. Yeah. Bye. Yeah. Check out Go City Press again. P.S. guys, I was also thinking about Kodiak cakes. Yeah, I love those pancakes. That brand particularly. Yeah, and yeah. In terms of ghost movies, again, I completely forgot. So yeah, one I watched. I think a lot of us are aware of Casper the Ghost, right? That was a childhood fave for sure, and probably some other ones I can think of. Yeah, the Hocus Pocus, right? 1993. I think they made a reboot of that, right, or another one. I haven't seen it at all, but I like the original. Most movies and TV series typically. Sometimes reboots are good, but yeah, Hocus Pocus 1993, right? It had a pretty, the story I think pulled on heartstrings a little bit, right? With the, if you've never seen it, but I'm sure most have. There was the cat and everything, and the ending always was like really memorable to me. And yeah, love Hocus Pocus 1993 and Casper the Ghost, and there are a couple other ones I can't remember. And yeah, most recently in horror type of films again, I think I saw Final Destination. Yeah, oh gosh, some of those scenes are hard to watch for sure, and it's like but yeah, I've seen all of the Final Destination films. Yeah, the earlier ones I think are, again, I typically like, if I like a series, typically the earlier ones, right? But some horror movies are really hard to watch, guys. And I think one I really struggled to watch was always the Saw series, right? Oh, that's really really tough to watch. I'm not a huge on overly graphic horror, but moderate horror, moderate. So like the Paranormal Activity series, that doesn't really scare me, a bunch. But sometimes scenes you watch in a movie, right? If it ever like jumps your heart, then it really scared you, obviously, right? Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So one last thing I wanted to mention. So in the about section here of Ghost City Press, so I was talking about royalties, right? So they do mention here, right? Um, again, right, all the money made through the sale of books published by Ghost City Press, GCP, right, goes back into publishing and distribution, their process and funding future projects. But it also states here, at the top, right? So just a reminder. So it says, higher, it says royalties for the writers and editors. So yeah, I think possibly, I'm not sure, what, over the other series, the ones that are not free, right? Outside of the Chapbook Summer Series, right? That one, the Micro-Chapbook Summer Series, again, is $0, but the other ones you saw of pricing. So I'm not sure what like GCP's royalty, setup or structure is. Again, every press has not everyone has a royalty split or the same amount and stuff. So I'm not sure what that looks like, and every press is a different. Maybe some are similar, but there are some that have contractual agreements, right, that state that and stuff, right? In terms of royalties, or if you get anything back, or where the sales are going to, or how it be used by the press, right? Typically it goes back to the press, for future projects, like they said, right? And then some of the series that presses do, they may do royalty splits. Not all do though. So again, just want to mention that. So yeah, and that's all. Yeah, that's officially all. So yeah, check out the bookstore. They have I didn't go through all of it for you guys, obviously, but it's a massive amount of chapbooks to really go through. Look at all this. It's really really awesome. Again, so yeah, there's so many to go through. Love just browsing, and seeing the titles covered and picking up some from time to time on various presses, the series that they do. Yeah. And yeah, I think it's a good idea, if you're going to submit to Go City Press, to or Go City Review, even, right, to always read, examples of work they published in the past, to get an idea, of what they're looking for. Yeah, definitely will help you. And yeah, so bye, guys. Yeah.